To call to order the Guthrie Public Schools Board of Education regular monthly meeting for Monday, November 8th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Schroeder,
Here.
Flagg,
Here.
Pearson,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Salee,
Here.
Smedley,
Here.
Bennett Johnson.
Here.
Madam President, we have a quorum.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we begin this meeting, would you join me for a moment of silence, please? Thank you. Agenda item number 6, student recognition.
Mr. Ogle? This.
We're going to try something a little different. Usually we have the student up front with Blake Whimsy from Foundation Insurance. We ran into a little bit of an issue with kids that are in sports and things that are going on, getting them here. When we had the Employee of the Month, we changed that to going into the classroom so the kids could see their teachers and other staff getting recognized. So this month, Mr. Whimsy and I visited, and so we went to the classroom, and it was awesome. And so one of the things Mr. Whimsy did was we went into the classroom, and I kind of said, here's what we're getting ready to do. And he wanted a few minutes just to talk about insurance. And so he brought some gift cards and asked the kids, okay, who can tell me what insurance is? Now, these were junior high kids, granted this time, so if we get some elementary, it could be really interesting. But this was an 8th grader class, and so the kid said what he thought insurance was, and so he got, I think it was a $5 or $10 Sonic gift card. And then they said, why is it important to protect your stuff with insurance? So good conversation piece, and then to get, talk about, okay, here's a character trait, and here everybody else could be if you do what you're supposed to and your teachers nominate you and see you doing good things. And a lot of the kids didn't know anything about it. And so getting that word out of, now you can get rewarded for that. And so Mr. Whimsy presented our Student of the Month. Got a picture here, it's hard to see. But that is in the junior high in the art room. That is Ethan Gilbert. He's an 8th grader, and Miss Sherry Stevenson nominated him for the character trait responsible. He got a $50 Visa gift card to use however he wanted. And so that's the Student of the Month. Also, we decided, since we're going to start doing it that way, we'll just kind of talk a little bit about our other Employee of the Month. You probably see those on Guthrie News page, the News Leader, and Local County Courier. We turn those in. Our Support Employee of the Month is our junior high custodian, Calvin Parker. He was nominated by my wife. No, I did not. Does my wife have a committee that gets to choose those? But he is at the junior high as well. And so Todd's staff, really, the committee did a good job of writing these, and you'll see those on the Guthrie News page because Mr. Evans does a great write-up on those, so I won't read all those. And then for our Certified Employee of the Month was our junior high librarian, Desi Rice. And she was nominated by Miss Whitehead. Miss Whitehead is currently out on jury duty, and so we weren't able to get her in the picture, but Mr. Bramwell stepped in with Desi, and you can see there's a little height.
Why did they both go to junior high? Is that Mr. Bramwell's doing or yours, Mr. Ogle?
Say that again?
Why did they both go to the junior high staff? Is that your?
I told you that the committee does it. I don't have anything to do with it. I just present. So anyway, I think it worked out really well. We've had good success the last 2 years going into the classrooms. And so what you can't see on this is the students got to see Desi get hers. And then when Calvin got his, it was in the science class and my wife's class, so the kids get to see that. And then for Ethan in the class, and the kids get to hear the things that were read about him. So we're probably going to try that again. And so we'll just present at the board meeting just like this.
Very good.
Good deal.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, comments to the board by citizens registered to speak.
We have none?
Comments to the board by board members.
Madam President, I'd like to address some questions and concerns raised by one of our parents last month regarding the Waterford curriculum the district has adopted for our pre-K to 4th grade students. But first, I want to thank our parents for their engagement in their children's education and for taking the time to visit with our administrators when they have questions and concerns and when necessary, bringing these concerns to the Board of Education. With that said, the Board of Education Curriculum Committee took a look at these concerns and questions raised during last month's meeting, specifically concerns regarding age-appropriate material involving controversial issues of gender and sexuality, as well as issues related to CRT. Myself, along with Tina and Chris, met with Waterford to discuss these issues and concerns. We asked very specific questions related to both topics to gain an understanding of if or how Waterford may approach these topics, and to learn if any of these issues are embedded within the curriculum. The Curriculum Committee and myself were reassured that these issues and topics are not included or embedded within the curriculum that Guthrie Public Schools is utilizing. More importantly, every parent has access to their children's curriculum, so we expect and welcome parental involvement with their child's Waterford account. This board takes all parental concerns and questions seriously and looks into each matter brought before the Board of Education. Since we are unable to participate or respond to comments to the board during our regular meetings, it may appear at times we're not interested or unlikely to look into the matter. However, I assure you, we value your input and are committed to accountability and transparency. So that's all I have, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Agenda item number 8, Superintendent's report.
We've got a lot going on, but it's been a great fall sports season, so I want to highlight some of those things and then talk about a few things that are coming up. First of all, congratulations to our fast pitch softball team for making it to the state tournament. They had a heartbreaking loss to Coweta, but they have a lot of players coming back, and very great job by those ladies as they represented the school district. Congratulations to our GHS cross-country teams. The boys team placed 6th at the state meet, while the girls team placed 8th. Individually, Mason Meyer placed 9th in the boys division, and it was another quality showing by our cross-country team. And again, the great way they represented our school district, we're very proud of. The football team set a goal at the start of the really in the offseason last year of hosting a playoff game, meaning they would have to finish 1st or 2nd in the district. They realized that goal by a 2nd place finish, and we will host the Noble Bears on Friday night at Jelsma Stadium. Our team is currently ranked 5th in the state in Class 5A. And another announcement about that game, veterans are active service members, and one guest may attend free of charge by showing a veteran's identification. And that is something that is going on statewide by the OSSAA. And kind of segueing into my next comment, Thursday's Veterans Day, and we certainly want to thank all the veterans for their service to our country, and also know that the junior ROTC from the high school will be participating in the parade and have the usual, weather permitting, of course, activities down at Honor Park. And we look forward to that. A little bit of a COVID update. We currently have 3 students and 2 staff members that are out with COVID. We're continuing to monitor the local infection rates and will adjust our protocols when warranted. And that's the extent of my report.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9, presentation of the final 2021 Oklahoma testing program for Charter Oak, Cotterell Central, Fogarty, Guess, Guthrie Junior High School, and the juniors' 2021 ACT scores for Guthrie High School by Executive Director Ms. Carmen Waters and Assistant Superintendent Mr. Doug Ogle.
Good evening, Board of Education. I will get us started off with our elementary scores. And OSTP stands for Oklahoma School Testing Program. It changes a lot, so I try to stay on top of those acronyms, but that is what that stands for. That's a test that all students take in the state of Oklahoma. So I know you have this in front of you, so if we'll go and let's start on page 3 where we're looking at 3rd grade math. Okay, when we're looking at our 3rd grade math, what you see in blue is where our 3rd grade students are here in Guthrie. And then what you see in red is what the state average is. And so with a state average in math in 3rd grade of being 29%, and we are 35%, then we are above the state average. And one of the goals that we set for ourselves with this is just availability of growth, and we want to be at that state average or above. And another thing that tells me is that it very much ensures being in school, and what would that number have looked like if we weren't? And so, any questions on the third grade math? And just so we can understand, this is all of the elementary schools combined together. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to third grade reading. Okay, we're looking at third grade. The ELA stands for English Language Arts, and I always want to make sure that I explain that. If you're looking on a third grade ELA, we've got 30% for our students in third grade, and the state average is 25%. And so obviously, again, above that state average, right where we want to be. I knew that the state averages would be low due to COVID, and it's just very interesting, the schools that, aren't in session, that I do think that attributes to the state where we are. Any questions on the third grade ELA? Okay, moving on. Fourth grade math. Our fourth grade math was 39%. The state average was 28%. So felt like that was a really good showing for our fourth graders in that math section. Questions on the fourth grade math? Okay, fourth grade ELA, again, we're looking at GPS students at 26%, and the state average is at 22%. So in all areas for the third and fourth grade, we're above that state average. And so I think that attributes a lot to those teachers, to those parents. They got their students to school every day, and the administrators that you see sitting behind me. Any questions that I can answer for you on the elementary OSTP scores? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Russell.
I was getting my stuff ready, and so, I don't know if Carmen said or not, but what we're looking at on those percentages are percentage of our students that are proficient or advanced. It has basic or below basic, and so what we're taking there is the students that are proficient or advanced at that percentage. So, fifth grade math. You can see the same thing. Guthrie is in blue, and then the state average is in red. We were a little bit below the state average of fifth grade math. We were 20%, where the state average was 23%. The next page, on page 9, is our fifth grade ELA. We were right at state average, 28%, and so we did pretty well there. Of course, we're always trying to improve and get above that state average, but fifth grade ELA, we are right there. And then the next one is fifth grade science. The students tested 5th and 8th grade for science, and so not every grade test, but fifth grade science, 53%. Guthrie, 5th grade, and the state average was 32%, so doing a really good job on our science. Our 6th grade math, this was one of the ones Ms. Davison and I and Ms. Carpenter really sat down and looked at, and so one of the lower ones that we had, know that we have some room for improvements, and so we were at 14% proficient or advanced, where the state average was 21%. And so we discussed several different things that we need to work on with some standards, and are going to have a good plan of working on those and getting students caught back up. 6th grade ELA, we were 25%, state average was 26%, so we're right there, not too far off, and so not too bad with that one. Getting into our junior high, we'll talk 7th grade math. We were at 26%, and the state average was 20%. 7th grade ELA, we were off the state average by 4%, we were 15%, and the state average was 19%. And so Mr. Bramwell and I met, and we're going through this, and one of the things that just got released was where we could go in and see where the students actually scored on certain standards. And so that actually got uploaded Friday, and so we're actually, after Ad Council tomorrow, we're gonna kind of dig into those and start looking at some of these standards and see exactly where we need to work on. But anyway, that's where we're at with our 7th grade ELA. Our 8th grade math, state average was 14%. We were at 23%, and so it's continuing being strong there with our math at the junior high. Our 8th grade ELA, state average was 24, we were 23, so just 1% under there, so just a little bit to catch up, but not too far off. Our 8th grade science, state average was 32%, and we were 43%. Any questions over our 5th through 8th grade scores before we move on? Now what we're going to look at is our junior ACT scores. And so what you're going to see here is not a percentage, it is actually the composite score average. And so these are just the juniors that take this test, and it's the only thing it's the first time that they take it in school under this program. And so these are the scores that are reported. These are the scores that we would use for the report card if the report card was given, because we don't have the growth model, because we didn't have scores from 2 years ago, we won't have the growth model. But these are our scores. And so let's look at our 11th grade math ACT. The state average was 17.2, and we were at 17.8, so we were 0.6 above the state average. 11th grade English, state average was 16.7, we were 16.8, so still above the state average. Our 11th grade science ACT, 18 was the state average, we were 18.1. So the only one that we were below state average with this junior class that took it was our 11th grade reading. State average was 18.3, and we were 18.2. So just right there below. And then this is our composite score all together when you put those, and you can see that the state average was 17.7 for these juniors, and we were above the state average at 17.9. And so looking at these scores, third through all the way through our juniors, we were very happy. We color code ours green, that we're at state average or more. And so when we color coded theirs, we had a ton of green, we had some red in there, so we have some room for improvement that we'll be working on and using some of the technology and ESSER funds to help some of that staff. But overall, we were really happy with that, and just like Ms. Walter said, I think a lot of that is our kids were in school, and so that's a big difference. Usually we're behind a little bit with our ACT scores, and so in committee meetings, we pulled that out and looked at some 4-year data on that, and we were above it for the first time in 4 or 5 years, and so really happy. But we'll take any questions now, if you have any, and I have the people behind me that can probably answer it.
On that composite score on the ACT, what, I mean, as a college entrance, is that high enough to get into like an OSU or OU? What composite?
Is it still 21?
Yeah, it's
21.2.
generally 21.
But you got to remember, we're testing everyone, not just the ones that have indicated an interest in college.
Ooh, okay.
And this could be the first time they ever took the ACT too.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So they'll have a chance to take it again.
That's different than it used to be.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
One thing I'd say, my hat's off to our staff, our administrators, our teachers, and everyone. Upon reflection of this whole odyssey that we've been in since March 13th of 2020, and how other districts handle things differently, it was harder to be open, especially last year, than it was to be closed or in distance learning. And in many cases, with the quarantines that we had going on, we had teachers working, teaching distance learning and in-person instruction. So they were doing double duty in many cases with as many kids as we had quarantined. And to see the results of this, it certainly galvanized some difficult decisions that were made last year as if they were, and that this board supported that were good for our kids. And so I think hats off to our staff for making that happen.
So I've got a question. I didn't think to ask it during a curriculum meeting, but how much more detail did we get with ACT scores as far as, the complete, the complete range of scores, by quartile or quintile? I mean, and if we do get that information, is there anything to be learned from that, such as, maybe those kids that have indicated that they're college bound, how do they rank, in the ACT entrance?
So there is the packet's about 80-some pages, so you can get anything that you really want out of that. I know that our counselors look at that with our students. I believe that we still try to get with them each semester, is that right? And so the students get a chance to visit with the counselors and look at those and try to dig into some of those. Probably what we could do is maybe during our power hour or some of the times that we do meet in smaller groups is maybe dig into that, because I think that we still do that every once a month. And so that may be a thing that we could do.
Yeah, I'm thinking, from a high level view, is there a way to look at how well we're preparing those college bound students? OSU has a 21 minimum. So, I didn't know if there's something we could learn there as far as, like I said, those kids that have indicated that they plan to go to college, how well are we preparing them? How are they placing on the ACT?
I think that's one way to measure, but that kind of goes back to the comments that I made last month about the value of the remediation rates once they get to college, to know where we stand. And that was another good report that we got last month on that.
One of the things I would say is we kind of will dig into that, just like we do with the 3rd through 8th grade tests, is we'll get through there and look at those standards, and we may see that certain standards that are being taught, or we may not be catching on to those, and so we can spend more time with those, whether that's, Algebra 1 or, in our English classes. And so we'll dig into those a little bit and see if we can drive that instruction to help get those scores up.
But, I appreciate the report, and, kudos to, like you said, this is the first time in several years, I think first time since I've been on the board, our composite's higher than the state average. And I believe that's a direct correlation to us being in class, last year. So, yep, great. Congratulations there, and thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Doug. Agenda item number 10, the consent agenda. All the following items, those items of routine nature normally approved by the board meetings will be approved by one vote unless any board member desires to have a separate vote on any or all of these items. The consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, action of the following items listed in the agenda.
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda minus item A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Schroeder.
Yes.
Plagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
Smedley.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 10A.
Madam President, I make a motion that we approve agenda item 10A.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Pearson. I'm
Yes.
sorry, Schroeder.
Yes.
Plagg.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
Smedley.
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Abstain.
6 ayes, 1 abstention.
Am I missing 11?
No.
Okay. Agenda item 12A, recommendation, consideration, and action to adopt calendar of regularly scheduled school board meetings for 2022.
On page 42 of your board packet, you have the dates that we're proposing for the calendar year 2022. We have to do this on an annual basis, file that prior to December 15th in order to have a regular board meeting. And I'm sure you remember from your board member trainings, we can have a special board meeting at any time with proper notification, but you can't have an item of new business. And so we've put these on the calendar, and I will call your attention to, they are all on the second Monday of the month, with one exception, and that's March 7th. That is the first Monday, but that is also keeping us off of spring break for a board meeting. And so that's the one exception. Everything else is the second Monday of the month.
Madam President, I move that we move to adopt the calendar of regularly scheduled school board meetings for 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Smedley,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 12B, recommendation, consideration, and action upon an amendment to the renewal agreement with Clearwater Enterprises for the purchase of a third-party natural gas for 2021-2022.
You may have seen in the newspaper today, there was an article in the Oklahoman about the volatility of natural gas prices as we enter the heating season. This amendment to our agreement with Clearwater will hopefully keep us from having a tremendous spike as we did last year. But as we've talked about in committee meetings, both finance and property, we were not as exposed to the financial calamities that other districts were because our vendor Clearwater was, they protected us a little bit more than some of the others that actually are, I know of several districts that are still in negotiations with the provider for some of the things that we had in the heating spikes that we had last winter. And so Michelle and I worked through this, and then we had some robust discussion at both property and finance and came with the recommendation that we approve this agreement, or this amendment to the agreement.
So is that volatility moderated by looks like a cost plus?
Yeah, it takes away Michelle, you want to address that, or you want me to?
Sure, this will allow us to capture the seller's cost directly as opposed to having the FERC index with the seller's cost on top of it. So we're eliminating that middleman cost, if you will, and so that's how we'll capture our savings from December to June of 2022.
And I'm not going to paint the perfect picture that this is truly a fixed cost item. I'm not going to say that, but we believe after working through this, that this is the best decision to protect the district from incredibly volatile spikes like we saw last year.
Madam President, I make a motion that we approve the amendment to renewal agreement with Clearwater Enterprises for the purchase of third-party natural gas for 2021-2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Smedley,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 12C, recommendation, consideration, and action upon revision to district policy D38, due process for administrators.
This policy was, we were just kind of going through, Mr. Moyer and I, our attorney, were going through this and several others when we noticed some irregularities that he and I both concurred needed to be modified. So we caught that and wanted to go ahead and place that in front of you for modification. And while I bring you a lot of policies at the start of the school year, and this year was possibly a record-breaking year, this stuff goes on throughout the year. And in fact, we will have, we'll have to have a modification to our transfer policy that'll be next month. And so, so just know that these reviews are ongoing, and when we see something that he and I are both not comfortable with, or if he's not comfortable with it, and I listen to him very carefully, and so that's why we bring this to you tonight.
Do we have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we approve the revisions to District Policy D38, due process for administrators.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Smedley,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 12D, recommendation, consideration, and action upon Cornerstone Counseling and Consulting.
This, in your packet, you received a version of the contract, and based on some ambiguity that I kind of looked at and kind of raised my antennas on a little bit, I sent this off to our attorneys to review, and they had the same concerns about the ambiguity, so we went from a 2-page agreement to, I don't know, what do we have now, 5? Yeah, we're at 5 pages, but this is a document that was written originally by our attorneys. There were some modifications based on the requests from Cornerstone Counseling and Consulting that our attorney was comfortable with, and the document that you have in front of you at the table is the one that I bring to you for approval tonight. And this will essentially allow this counseling agency, they can receive federal funds to pay off the student loans of some of their counselors in the process of all of this. And our students will still receive the benefits of their work. Recommend approval.
So I got a quick question. So, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward, but we're designated them as a NHSC, which is a federal government program administered. So does this change our relationship at all with the federal government, Department of, Health and Human Services or anything?
No, none whatsoever. No. It's merely a mechanism of funding for their counselors.
Madam President, I move we approve the agreement with Cornerstone Counseling and Consulting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Smedley,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item number 13, proposed executive session for the purpose of discussing employment of personnel, FMLA request, resignation and separation from employment, and transfer of position requests. All is set out in personnel reports and discussion of extra duty assignments as listed for 2021-2022. Discussing purchase or appraisal of real property, disclosure of which information would violate confidentiality agreements or requirements of the state and or federal law, all pursuant 25 Oklahoma Statute, Section 307B, 1, 3, 7, and 70 Oklahoma Statute, Section 5, 118. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Smedley, Schroeder,
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Smedley,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Only items in agenda number 13 were discussed in executive session and no votes were taken. This shall constitute the executive session minutes. Agenda item 14. Vote on action is set out in the personnel reports.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Smedley,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 15, action upon recommendation of extra duty assignments for 2021-2022.
So
Madam-
moved.
Madam President, I make a motion we approve the extra duty assignments for 2021-2022.
Second.
A motion and a second.
Schroeder,
Roll call, please.
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Smedley,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 16, recommendation, consideration, and action to approve contract for the purchase of real property.
Madam President, I make a motion we approve the contract for the purchase of real property.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Smedley,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Agenda item 17, recommendation, consideration, and action to accept any resignations offered since the posting of this agenda.
We have none?
Agenda item 18, discussion and possible action on new business not known about or could not have been reasonably foreseen at the time of the agenda posting.
We have none?
Agenda item 19, we have a motion to adjourn.
Move for adjournment.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Schroeder,
Yes.
Flagg,
Yes.
Pearson,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Smedley,
Yes.
Bennett Johnson.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.